Okay then, so the second video on socialism, I'll try and get through the washing machine whirring away. This is looking at socialism and human nature. Now, in the previous video, I said that socialists disagree about most things within and between the different strands. However, I think their view of human nature is probably the area where they agree with each other the most, I would argue. Where they tend to disagree is kind of how to remedy the problems of our current human nature, as opposed to what human nature actually is. So, let's look at what they agree on, first of all. Socialists agree that humans are rational. Again, this idea comes from their views from the Enlightenment, and again, it's very similar to those liberal views as well. So, humans are rational. They also have quite an optimistic view of human nature, especially in the past, in the state of nature, I suppose. They argued that human nature was, and still is naturally, cooperative. Humans are most keen to work together, and humans in the past and today, if capitalism is reduced, that human nature also believes that people actually achieve more by working together. They often call this phrase the common humanity, and it's based on altruism and fraternity. This idea that people are better off working together, working collectively, people looking out for each other, people seeing other individuals not as kind of rivals or competitors, but as fellow humans who, it's best to work with in order to achieve the greater good. And linked into this is this idea that the common good is more important than the individual. So again, this idea that individuals are part of a common humanity and we can achieve great things by working together. Again, it's like in class, isn't it? When I said I imagine the human nature, the state of nature, being a bit like a cave. Okay, socialists would argue that people live in this cave together, it's like a community of humans living in this cave. We've all got different skills, but we can only survive by working together. So, for example, 2 or 3 people in our community might be good at hunting, they might be fast, might be strong, might be good aim with spears or whatever, and they can go off and kill the mammoth. However, if they don't know how to cook the mammoth or how to skin the mammoth, then they're going to starve anyway. So again, in the community, there then might be some people in that community who got particular skills, let's say, removing the skin of the mammoth and creating warm clothes out of the fur. There might be other people in that community who know how to cook the mammoth, and there might be other people in that community who can make things out of the tusks and the bones and whatever else. You get my general point. People achieve more by working together. That is the general view of socialists. They also tend to have this moral view as well about the role of people in society as well. They argue that people should want to work hard in order to improve their community and improve their society as well. So we all achieve more by working together, but we're also morally obligated within that community to actually want to improve the community and to want to work hard so we can contribute to that community. And this leads to an interesting area of agreement between Giddens and New Labour and Beatrix Webb back in the 1920s, because both of them were a little bit concerned about over-generous welfare systems kind of creating this dependency culture, and both Webb and Giddens argues that the welfare state should be temporary. People should use it on a temporary basis if they're in between jobs. It should be a useful place for people to still survive whilst they're out of work, but people are kind of morally obligated to find new work. This is something which Tony Blair was quite keen on in the New Labour days, this idea that people should be on welfare, but also the welfare state should then try and help people to get a job. So again, their view of human nature is quite moral as well. So people should work hard because that improves society and their community as well. And the final area which they all agree on is that human nature is pliable. That means it's not fixed. It is shaped by society and by the economy and by other kinds of factors of that nature. Giddens argues this, Karl Marx argues this as well. So liberals and conservatives believe that human nature is fixed, it cannot be changed. Socialists believe that human nature is pliable, it can be altered. And what they tend to argue is that in this state of nature, before capitalism came along, people had all the different qualities I mentioned before: fraternity, altruism, common humanity, all these kind of positive, in their view, ideals. And then evil capitalism has come along, and it's corrupted our human nature. It's created the humans who are today are see each other as rivals, competitors, selfish, and all these kind of negative attributes. And so socialists all believe that human nature is pliable and has been altered by capitalism. Where they all disagree is the extent of that corruption, I suppose, for want of a better phrase, and also what to do about it. So, to go through the different strands on this, Marxists, they argue that human nature has been completely destroyed by capitalism. Karl Marx said it's been deformed by a consciousness of the bourgeoisie. Not even the middle classes are happy with their current state of nature or their current state. They're being corrupted by money. The working classes are being exploited in order to, get money for an elite group of people. And Marx argues that human nature has been so corrupted by capitalism, the only remedy is to eliminate capitalism altogether. Hence the revolution. So the revolution is needed to kind of remove capitalism, and as a consequence of that, once capitalism has been removed by the revolution, humans will go back to our natural state of cooperation, fraternity, etc., etc., etc. So quite an optimistic view of the future, but quite pessimistic about where we are at the moment. And the only way to get to that kind of golden light future, I suppose, is by having a revolution. Rosa Luxemburg also believes in this revolution. However, she says that Marx has kind of overstated the damage caused by capitalism. She points out that if you look at many working class communities, there actually is quite a strong degree of fraternity and people working together in those communities. There's quite a strong working class culture, I suppose, in these areas, where people do look out for each other, people do look after each other's kids and all that type of stuff. And also, I suppose, I'm kind of going a bit beyond what she says, but I suppose you can look at this idea that people working in factories, lots of people working together, they naturally kind of bond with each other and look out for each other, all that type of stuff. So Rosa Luxemburg says that human nature currently is not quite as bleak as what Marx says, but she too argues that capitalism is the cause of all this damage, and again, the only way to get back to this true human nature is to remove the thing that's caused the problems, i.e. capitalism. Rosa Luxemburg, again, she says that human nature has been damaged by capitalism, and in fact she's got quite a negative view actually of the working classes, and she's a bit more optimistic about the so-called liberal elites. Webb argues that the working classes are intellectually and morally incapable of socialism. They're not educated enough to understand the true socialist state, and that she kind of focused quite a lot of attention on the wealthier middle class people, the liberals and the conservatives, to try and get them to convert them into socialism. This might be shown by the fact that she and her husband founded the London School of Economics, for example. But she argues that the revolution is a bad idea. She argues that revolution will just further damage humanity, and humans can get back to their true state of nature by being gradually guided back to fraternity and cooperation through taking over the state through democratic means, and this evolutionary path towards socialism, guided, I suppose, by this kind of technocratic class which she so favoured. Crossland and Giddens, they too believe that human nature has been corrupted by capitalism and it's been altered by capitalism, but again, they've got a slightly more optimistic view of human nature at the moment. They argue there's quite a strong sense amongst people of fairness. Crossland in particular discusses about this idea of fairness and how there's an innate kind of disagreement amongst people about unfairness or unfairness, whatever the word is. Okay, so Crossland argues that people have this sense of fairness, and then if they see unfairness taking place, then people tend to be quite hostile to that kind of inequality, that lack of fairness in society, or whatever it happens to be. I suppose it's a bit like, say I treated one person in the class very different to everybody else. Say I punished them every lesson just for breathing or something. The rest of you might have this sense of, well, Paul's not being very fair, is he? Why is he doing this and why is he doing that? And both Giddens and Crossland argue that there is this very strong sense of fairness amongst people, and that people actually want to see a fairer society. They want to see people being treated better across all different strands of society. And so Crossland says this is quite a powerful force, and this can be used to kind of guide socialism in the more modern world. Giddens too argues about fairness and says that this is kind of an important area as well, but he also says it's been sharpened by individualism as well, and that people actually see themselves as individual, but they also have this sense of a greater fairness among society. They don't like to see beggars on the streets, or they don't like to see certain groups being treated differently to other certain groups. So in that sense, there's some areas of disagreement here among socialists, but as you can probably see, it's mainly about the extent of the damage and what can be done about it. So for the revolutionaries, the damage has been irreparable, I suppose, and the only solution is a revolution. For Giddens and Crossland, it is, well, actually people have a strong sense of fairness still. It hasn't been damaged beyond repair, and actually we don't need a revolution. These qualities can quite easily be brought back by introducing policies which try to create better fairness, etc., etc. So this is one area, I think, among socialists where there's probably more agreement amongst them than there are in the other aspects which we'll have a look at. But again, the disagreements tend to be about what to do about the problem as opposed to what the problem actually is.